Have you ever thought, is this just me when struggling to stay organized, start tasks, or manage time? For those of us over 50, these challenges might not be just aging. They could be ADHD hiding in plain sight for decades. I'm Jami Shapiro, host of Grandma Has ADHD, and I'm building a community where your experiences matter. Whether you're diagnosed, questioning, or simply curious, you're not alone. Our Facebook group is filled with vibrant, understanding people over 50 who share their stories, strategies, and yes, even their struggles, with plenty of laughter along the way. Ready to find your people? Join our growing Grandma Has ADHD Facebook community. Please like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen, and share it with someone who might need to hear they're not alone, because ADHD doesn't have an age limit, and neither does understanding yourself better. Together, we're changing the conversation about ADHD after 50. Come be part of the story. Hi, and welcome to a really special edition of Grandma Has ADHD. This is going to be the very first episode that I drop, so to speak, after my new book, This Explains So Much, came out just this week. I was having a conversation with my good friend Charna Kinneberg, who is one of the founders of NASMM. That's the National Association of Senior Move Managers. If you've been listening to my podcast, you know that I am a big advocate of NASMM, and that's how I got into this whole ADHD journey. She texted me to tell me that she was almost in tears from reading the book, and that so much of what I had shared had resonated with her. I said, Charna, I was going to do my own episode on Tuesday, drop the episodes on Tuesday, but I would love to interview you about your reaction to the book. And of course, I'll let you share what it is that you do. You graciously agreed. Here she is. As I indicated, she was one of the founders of the industry that I am in, which speaks very commonly to ADHD and how we see when something is missing, and we go in and we figure out what needs to happen. So anyway, that's just a very long-winded introduction. But hi, Charna.
Hi, Jami. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. And for full disclosure, I've gotten about third to half of the way through the book, and I love it. I'm a dyslexic and I'm a slow reader, and it's great. And I will finish the book, which is
it's great. Yeah. My cousin actually messaged me, and she said the same thing. She said, I never read, and I'm halfway through the book. She said, but if I put it down, I'm afraid I will lose it and I won't pick it up again. But I've been surprised at how many people, because I was really scared to kind of put it all out there and say, this is how I live. Maybe other people aren't going to feel the way that I do, but I've been blown away by people like you that are just, and the dyslexic is one of the, have you gone through this is an ADHD? Okay. It's on there.
Yeah. And the business about being called dumb when you're a kid and an underachiever and all this other kind of stuff, because all the people in my family have tested over 130 for IQ. And I see the accomplishments that I've done. And no, I didn't get the grades that my brother and sister got. Who could sit still long enough for that stuff? And a lot of what you talk about in your book is me. Like, oh my, yeah, that's me.
I love that. I think I wasn't anticipating or really thinking when this all started that we have whole generations of women. Again, I'm sure there are men too, but I'm really gearing this towards women that have had all of the challenges that these kids now have, but nobody had a label for it. And we just suffered in silence, thinking it was just us. Releasing the book, I'm like, oh, maybe there aren't enough people. It's a very scary thing, first of all, to put yourself into the world. And then to hear that other people could identify with what you've just said, it's giving us a freedom.
I didn't even know I was dyslexic until, I don't know, when I was probably in my early 30s.
Wow.
Yeah. Somebody on a nursing floor caught it and said, when you're having trouble, you can add things up in columns like that. But the reason you're having trouble getting the numbers right in the right order is because you're dyslexic. Oh, you mean it's not just about D's and B's being backwards? No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The insights that I've gotten from that and from your book are amazing.
That's awesome. Okay, so take us back. I mean, of course, I'm going to let you talk about where you are present day, but I want to hear about, and by the way, is it Charna or Charna?
Charna.
I got it right. Yay. Okay. So tell me about little Charna. Take me back to childhood.
Youngest kid uh,
Of how many?
of three. My sister was the oldest, incredibly bright, did not do a whole lot with it. My brother was the middle child, became a surgeon, and he could operate. He was ambidextrous. He could operate right or left. Both of
Wow.
those two people could get excellent grades in school, and I was struggling. And I
Mhm.
had these ideas of something I wanted to do, like read the encyclopedia. I am in the era of encyclopedias. I was going to read that one summer. It didn't happen. I looked through a few pages, but no, I was of the era that if you were inside, you were sick. And unless
Mhm.
we were running a fever or bleeding on the carpet, we weren't deemed as sick. So we were outside a lot and a lot of physical play. I did not have fun with Dick and Jane when I was growing up, if you remember those primary readers. And,
I think they were a little before me, but I know them. See Dick
yeah,
and Jane, see Spot, right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Couldn't read to save my life.
Mhm.
And if a test was counting, I would screw it up. But if it didn't matter, I got incredible grades. I'm a math
That's anxiety.
person. Yeah, I'm a math person. So I remember in high school, one of my math teachers would explain a concept once to me, and then she would take half the class and I'd take the other half of the class and go teach them.
Mm.
So I had different areas of expertise, which retrospectively makes sense, but at the meantime doesn't. Again, couldn't read in high school. I remember being told to read something and it just didn't happen. It was way too difficult for me.
Mhm. I think
Yeah.
40% of people with dyslexia have ADHD or vice versa. I don't know where the percentages fall, but I don't know if you noticed that I got out my pen and paper, but you said test anxiety. And I forgot that's a thing. So I keep this running list of that's an ADHD thing. That's kind of why you called me. And so I just added test anxiety to the list. Okay, so you struggled reading, and that's a very separate challenge. Jeff Copper, who has an MBA, came on the podcast and he shared with me he was also diagnosed with dyslexia in high school. And he actually said that he found the challenges of dyslexia to be more difficult than the challenges of ADHD. So I am not dyslexic. I have a lot of other challenges. That's just not one of them. But I do acknowledge for you, I would imagine it would be really hard to not know why you're not reading, but clearly intelligent, which is also an AD experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is with the issues that I contend with, you had to find adaptive ways of dealing with them because there were no IEPs back when I was in elementary school and high school and any of the schooling I had. So interestingly enough, I ended up getting into the University of Pennsylvania and I made the National Honor Society. I don't know how I made these things. There's absolutely no reason in my mind, given what I was dealt, to have done this, but I was involved with a lot of activities in school. And I guess that got me into Penn, which is an Ivy League.
Yeah. Go
For,
you.
I was in the School of Nursing, and I jokingly say at the time, there were 5 men for every woman at Penn. So
Mhm.
I majored in dating. Um,
I
it's
love it.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, that was a challenge because me sitting down and studying, it was like the butterfly flying across. So let me go see the butterfly.
Squirrel. Like we call
Yeah,
that squirrel.
squirrel.
Have you
Yeah.
gotten that far in the book yet?
Yes, I have. And it made me laugh because I drive through Delaware often. And I saw a sign recently that said, don't distract, don't drive, distract, squirrel. Flying.
It's a real thing, Charna.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're also not uncommon to have a very accomplished person with ADHD, and I have found two camps. And, I talk about that in the book. One is the overachiever who's constantly going, doesn't stop to pause and savor what they've done, and goes on to the next thing. I think partly because we have a hard time sitting still, we have to be working towards the next thing. But for me, I also think that there was partly that imposter syndrome where if I had one more certification, then it would prove that I was. Although I don't have dyslexia, I did struggle feeling that I wasn't intelligent and I couldn't
Oh,
read.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so there is this, I'm not as smart as everybody else, which,
Okay. Absolutely. I still look at it and compare what I do with what my boss does. And because now I have a boss, which is actually quite relieving. but I compare my knowledge to what she does. We have different types of expertise. And another thing that came up too is her expertise. It's more corporate and she develops new product lines. And I'm the squirrel that says, oh, I've got another idea. Oh, I have another idea. Until I got to this point in my life, those ideas to me were detrimental. And now I've got a situation where I'm working and my crazy ideas are actually things that are valuable. And I've never had that before. So what a relief that I could come up with an idea and somebody doesn't look at me like I'm crazy. They're able to sort out the gems in these ideas and take advantage of them. So
You
to
know,
me, that's gold mines.
Sure. They have in the entrepreneur group that I was in, entrepreneur organization, I was in the accelerator for the people that weren't making $1 million, because hopefully I will one day. But they say that there are two different leaders in an organization. There's the visionary, which I think tends to be the people with ADHD. We have the grand ideas. We see things that people don't see, but we need that integrator. We need that person that's going to sort through those ideas and say, this one's good, because I'm sure you have the shiny object syndrome where you're like the next thing and then the next thing, right? So it's like, what?
Well, interestingly enough, Joyce is always chasing after the next bright coin, and she can put things together and create another division. And I step back and I see the issues associated with getting it done and can take that and present it in such a way that we get attention. So whether it's another kind of presentation, I'm doing one in a few weeks about storage.
Mm.
That's another view of downsizing.
Sure.
But when I talked to the person that I'm doing this presentation for, he said, I never thought about talking about storage. Nobody's ever brought that up.
Oh,
It's a huge issue. It's a $44.3 billion issue in this country. And it's because we don't downsize.
okay. That's a tangent that I want us to go down, because I definitely want to honor the work that we both do. But I also want to share with you something that I learned about dyslexia, and that is that a lot of multimillionaires are dyslexic because they recognize patterns in the market. They recognize patterns in things. So that could actually be your dyslexia working for you, by the way. But let's talk about storage, because I think that's a really important conversation, because I know with ADHD and a lot of the clients that I see, and I'm sure
Mhm.
you've seen over the years, is a lot of stuff, and then they become overwhelmed with their stuff, and then it's just a deferred decision when that stuff goes into storage, or a family member dies, family's not ready to deal with it, and then it just goes to storage. I heard the statistic 1 out of every 10 people rents offsite storage. I'd love to hear since you're working on the presentation, share.
Yeah, I heard similar. It was like 1 out of 11. And that's just offsite storage as far as these self-storage things, but doesn't include the pods, doesn't include storing in your neighbor's basement or your daughter's basement, and also doesn't include storage that you get with movers.
Mm.
So that's 44.3. I bet it's more like 44.3 billion. My estimate is probably closer to someplace like 50 billion.
Okay. Well, before you give all of this wonderful knowledge to our listeners, I would love for you to put a plug in for the company that you work for. And just so everyone is listening, Charna and I are both members of the same organization. I'm in San Diego. I own Silver Linings Transitions. And I have to say, Charna was one of the women that I met when I joined the industry 12 years ago. She was like the head in it's for like one of the big people. And I remember being kind of like, remember when you're in school and you're little and you see the big seniors in high school?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like intimidated. And then like, here I am now, we're friends. So I feel like I've made it.
I feel like I've made it too. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. But anyway, so I just shared that Silver Linings does senior move management, storage, garages, home organizing in San Diego, and share what it is that you do with Moyer Move.
We're in the process of rebranding to just Moyer. The division I work with is Moyer Move Management.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a moving company. The moving company's been around since 1969. It's the third generation. Amazing guys. They're incredible guys that run and own this organization. The Move Management division was started by a lady that used to work with transitional assistants in design. And they were acquired by Wayforth. And in the process of Wayforth downsizing, she was let go and went to work for the Moyers. That was in a week before the pandemic.
Mm.
Pandemic hit and they said, just stay the course, it'll be fine. She is truly a builder. And we went from nothing in 2020 to now we have over 60 people, between 60 and 70 people in our move management division. We just won top workplace in the Baltimore Sun as well as the Washington Post.
Wow.
Really good company. And our movers are independent. And this year they won Independent Mover of the Year from the American Truckers Association. Now, what
That,
I do, I kind of describe my job description is I work for a lady named Joyce Know-how. She's our president. I'll do anything Joyce wants me to do. I feel like that's my job description. And she kind of agrees with that. So
nice. That sounds
it's
perfect for an empty brain, right?
Hattie, it works for me. So I do a lot of presentations. I do sales calls sometimes with the salespeople. I sometimes pick up the odds and ends here and there. There's projects that I get involved with. Mainly, I do a lot of business development.
Okay, so I want to take a step back because some people, this might be the first time that they're tuning into the Grandma Has ADHD podcast. Let me just briefly tell those of you who are listening what it is that we do as senior and specialty move managers. The industry started helping seniors when they were relocating from a home that they have maybe been in for many, many years, or they needed to go through their belongings and quote, use the word downsize. Now we're using the word right size because downsize sort of has a negative connotation. Right size is really more about what we're doing, but it's people go through the process of going through a lifetime of belongings, paring them down, and then handling all of the logistics of the move. And every member of NASMM is a member of a national association, actually more than national because we're in Canada and other countries. But we have a governing board. We have a code of ethics, which I know you serve on that, the code of ethics. I've worked with movers before, by the way, and I'm not just talking about as a move manager, but I've been the person that had to manage a mover do the bait and switch, and then you have no recourse. And what's really great about NASM is that, and we very rarely get complaints, but if there is a complaint against a member of NASM, it's addressed. You could lose your standing as a NASM member. But what's great about it is that 99% of us really good people with a lot of integrity. We want that layer of accountability. But so we exist, in other places running differently. As Charna said, hers has a moving attachment to it. My company partners with movers who we vet and oversee, but we don't have that part. So we all run a little differently, but all of us pretty much do the same thing. And that's making the process of moving a lot easier. One of the things that's so great about my work with ADHD is that one of the biggest challenges we have in ADHD is with executive functioning. How do you prioritize? How do you take on big tasks? How do you schedule things? Where do you begin? So that's just part of executive functioning, and also disorganization and clutter. So you can see we're working with a move management company. And in my company's case, we do home organizing as well.
We do a lot of that. Yeah.
So knowing that this is people who need our services because it's just not the way their brains work. I wanted to put that plug in, and then we're going to pause. We're going to come back. You're going to tell us a little bit about storage and what people can do if they are looking at a lot of storage, kind of what you're sharing with your audience. But I always like to ask the button question. And I know you've listened to the podcast before, and that is I always ask people if they could press a button and they never had ADHD and they will never have it, it just goes away, poof, would you press the button? So Charna, we're going to leave everybody hanging with that message. And just so I don't forget, if you haven't already, I would love for you to buy the book. This explains so much. It is available on Amazon. You could put my name, Jami Shapiro. I think it's coming up now with just This Explains So Much. But also, I am going to be starting a online downsizing meets accountability in the spring. But prior to that, we're going to have a virtual book club on October 26th. So anybody that purchases the book is going to be able to participate in the virtual book club, where they also get to meet my mom, who helped me write the book. So I just want to put that plug in. We're going to take a pause. And now, Charna, we're going to come back. You're going to answer the button question. Hey there, Grandma Has ADHD listeners. I'm your host, Jami Shapiro, and do I have some exciting news? My book, This Explains So Much, Understanding Undiagnosed ADHD, is now available on Amazon. My mom, Vicki, and I wrote this together. She's the original grandma who inspired this whole journey. I'm calling this the perfect is the enemy of done version, because if I waited until it was perfect, you'd never be holding it in your hands. This book is for us, those of us who've spent our whole lives feeling like we were too much or never quite enough. Inside, you'll find why you've always felt different, ADHD traits you didn't even know were ADHD traits, how to declutter without the shame spiral, and so much more about thriving with ADHD after 50. Here is the exciting part. Everyone who purchases the book gets free access to a virtual book club that my mom and I are hosting. So mark your calendars for Sunday, October 26th at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to share stories, laugh about our ADHD moments, and create that safe space where you can finally take off that girdle. When you read the book, you'll know what I mean, and just be yourself. Here's what to do. Head to Amazon, search This Explains So Much, Jami Shapiro, grab your copy, paperback or ebook, and visit grandmahasadhd.com to take the ADHD quiz and get your book club registration link. Understanding your ADHD isn't adding to your plate. It's finally understanding why your plate has always felt so full. I cannot wait to see you at the book club and hear your stories. And if the book resonates, please leave an Amazon review, as well as for this podcast, to help other women find their light bulb moments. Thank you for being part of this community. This book exists because of all of you. Ever wondered why helping a loved one declutter feels like speaking different languages? I did, especially with my mom. It wasn't until I founded Silver Linings Transitions, helping San Diego seniors organize and move for over a decade, that I discovered why. We all experience clutter differently, and for those of us with ADHD, it's a whole other world. If you are listening in the San Diego area and feeling stuck with moving, paperwork, photos, or home organization, our team at Silver Linings Transitions gets it. We understand ADHD's unique challenges, and we won't just help you get organized. We'll create sustainable systems that finally stick. Schedule a consultation with our team today at 760-522-1624. That's 760-522-1624, or find us at silverliningstransitions.com. So we are back with Charna Kinneberg from Moyer, because that's what we're calling it right now, and in the Maryland area. And I asked before we left for the break, Charna, would you press the button and not have ADHD?
No.
No, you would not press the button.
I wouldn't press the button. There are disadvantages and there are advantages. And at this point in my life, I like the way my brain works. It sounds kind of weird, but I really like how
it doesn't.
crazy it is.
Me too.
And I really like, whether it's ADHD causing it or dyslexia or a combination of both, I really like the creativity that I can bring to situation. And when, of course, you describe it in the book, it's like I'm scattered all over the place until I get to something I really want to do. And then you may as well rip a bone away from a dog. It's absolutely impossible. And I think some of the things when I was growing up, I remember working at 11 to 7 and being bored, and came up with a pattern of a sweater that was a very intricate pattern for knitting, of a fisherman's sweater for a niece of mine, because there were no patterns that were this big.
Absolutely.
What AD does, because then I was like a dog with a bone. And I wasn't distracted because I was bored.
Right. You and I, we got on the tangent of the woo-woo story when I had shared with you, and I say this, in the book, that I feel that we were born with these brains for a reason. That we have something to contribute, and that these brains allow us, once we figure out what it is, to contribute. And one of the reasons that I am so passionate about doing this work with older adults is there are so many people in our society that think it doesn't matter. Why does it matter that, an older adult discovers that they have ADHD? They've been functioning this way for this many years. And, and I say in every episode, and I will probably say it in every episode, is at what point in life do you want to stop learning? Do you want to cease to matter? Do you want to stop growing? And it's basically finding your purpose and figuring out what you're good at. There is never a point that you should stop pursuing that. That was sort of where I was going with that.
So from my perspective too, it's given me the opportunity to forgive myself for what I saw were character defects. And it's
Mhm.
not a character defect. It's not even a design defect. It's
Mhm.
an alternate universe that I happen to live in.
Yeah, it's a different brain wiring, but I say it in the book that we were likely the cavemen who were scoping the environment to make sure that it was safe and on heightened alert. And so there's a book called A Hunter in a Farmer's World. We are a heightened alert state, and then you want to put us to sit and do agriculture or assembly line, and our brains are too much for that. So you had shared, because I always, when I pause the conversation, and in addition to giving you a few words to just help support the podcast, I always ask the guest, are you happy with the direction? And I asked Charna, did she want to go down the storage lane? Sometimes we can't come up with words. You're getting this in real life. And Charna said, no, she actually wanted to share a story about a client that she had that she is fairly certain. And by the way, we cannot diagnose someone with ADHD. I'm very clear on that. But, it's kind of like when you can just tell. But if you do suspect ADHD and you want to take medication, which I'm an advocate for, if you can do that, you do need to see a healthcare professional
Mhm.
who understands ADHD in older adults, because P.S., that's another problem. But all right, so share, Charna, what you were going to share.
Well, what I will say is working with her was like being in a room full of squirrels left on the loose, trying to find the nuts to hide someplace for winter. So if you can imagine a room full of squirrels running around like crazy people, that's what was going on. We're trying to focus this woman on downsizing and having an organized environment. And she saw value in everything she owned, which is something you and I deal with all the time. It got to the point I was focused. I was on that. I've got a task to accomplish and I need to get it done. And the squirrels are driving me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought a team lead in who actually I knew I wasn't the right person to deal with this lady, because it was like my ADHD, my way of dealing with the world was making things worse, because I was on a mission to organize and go down one path, which she wanted to go down, but was incapable of going down. So we needed another kind of person to get in there and work with her, which I brought somebody in and was amazed at how well they worked together. And eventually we got the job to the point that she could move. Martha Stewart never lived in her home, never will live in her own.
Oh.
And despite what her husband wanted, what her daughter wanted, and actually what she wanted, Martha Stewart won't live there because she doesn't have the ability to let go of things and to make it better. And
Mm.
I didn't have that ability to be able to get her even to the point that she was at. So it was a real interesting experience. And again, we learned from a lot of our clients. And that was one I was like, yeah, this is not me. I can't help this woman, but I can get somebody else in that's more appropriate to help her.
Right. So that's one of the strengths of ADHD, is that we can really read people, we can sense energy, and we can, match the right person to the task. And that's definitely a strength of ADHD. If I'm like sending a text message in the morning, say to my team, I just want to send the message that I want to get out, because I don't want to like make happy talk. Hey, how are you today? Did you have a nice weekend? I'm like, okay, did you get this done? Right. And that can be off putting, but if I want to get something done and accomplish it, this is what my agenda is. And that can make it really difficult if we're working with somebody who isn't aligned with us in that way. And so finding that compassionate, and I have the same thing. I have people on my team who we have the client whisperer. Like we know we have one that if we're going to have a really difficult client or one that's going to have a lot of emotional issues, we bring in Joanne. So anybody who's had Joanne, that might be a thing, but we really try to align the right patient personality with the person and go at their pace.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that thing about skipping the niceties and getting directly to the point. I have to pull myself back all the time and remember to say, good morning. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you got a good night's sleep. It's nice to talk with you. It's like, can I get to the point now?
Uh-huh. That's actually masking. Anytime that we don't behave in the way that is authentic to who we are kind of holding it together. And I think that was a big part of the book for me, was kind of pulling back the curtain and letting you say, hey, this is what's going on for me. Now, that's not to say that I shouldn't be nice and say good morning, but it doesn't come naturally for me.
No, it's a thought. And in fact, the best way I come up with ideas, if I'm stuck on something, I could take a walk.
Mm-hmm.
It seems me walk my brain to go on idle enough to come up with a solution.
Mm-hmm.
I walk into the house after a walk and my husband says, what did I do wrong? What now? It's because I generally come up with ideas on walks.
Yeah, we need to pause. We need to pause away from things and give ourselves that distance. Or I call them my shower epiphanies or yoga when I need to think. So, in typical ADHD fashion, I have overscheduled myself. Charna and I were supposed to get on at 10 o'clock my time. And then we had delays due to technical issues. And of course, I scheduled an appointment with my dog groomer. And I've been very, very proud of the fact that Benji has kept quiet. I front loaded the snacks. So, Charna, before I wrap up, I want people to be able to get in touch with you. And I want you to share any last bit of words of wisdom to my audience, who I really feel are people who are coming to this ADHD conversation obviously later in life after the age of 50, and just like you were like kind of making peace with their lives. So could both tell us how we can find you or Moyer.
My email address, although it's long, it's easy. It's Charna, CHARNA, at MoyerMoveManagement.com. And Moyer is MOYER.
Okay. So
And
that's
hopefully everybody else is a better speller than I am. But
okay. And then what are your parting words for the people that are listening to this podcast?
read the book.
Thank you. I did not pay her for that, but no, and I'll see it here.
Great book. And the other thing is, once you discover what you are, embrace it. Forgive yourself. Acknowledge it. Don't try to fight it. Try to change yourself. I went a long time struggling with the fact that I was less than. I'm not less than. I am exactly the way I'm supposed to be. And I have so much to offer the world. Get there. Acknowledge it, embrace it, and keep it.
I could not have said it better. That is exactly what I am trying to do. So I'm just going to let you be the last word. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Charna. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being a founding member of NASMM. The work that we do is so helpful to seniors, to their families, to people who would rather take a vacation than take days off of work to make a move, because moving is one of life's biggest stressors, and we make that pleasurable. So thanks so much for being on the podcast. And I hope that for those of you who listened, you learned something. And I will probably have Charna back on because she just has so much to say. So when you finish the book, Charna, there's your little reward for finishing. I'm going to have you back on and we'll go through it.
After NASMM.
All right. Okay. We have a conference coming up. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening. The opinions expressed on Grandma Has ADHD podcast are those of our guests and hosts and are intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. This podcast does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content discussed in this episode is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, mental health professional, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or mental health concern. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of Grandma Has ADHD do not assume any liability for the content of this podcast. Listen at your own discretion.